He didn't say this. I told you I like the seeds. I put the seeds in here and made myself a blackberry. I've been on a blackberry rush today, so this is yummy time. Mmm. Mmm. And if you watch the previous video, here's the syrup, and I'm letting it cool, but this is not what this video is about, so that was my moment. God, it's good. Anyway, right now what we're going to do is I'm going to show you how to cut a onion, and I'm going to also show you the Gordon Ramsay thing. I think that's so lame when he does that. I don't know. They should have left that part out. It's just they could have just had him hold the knives instead of doing that. That's anyway. Okay, back to the knives. You have two different types of knives. You have really expensive knives. You have really cheap knives, and this is first the knife. Okay, everyone's gonna know what this is. This knife is only $19.95, and it cuts through your belt. It cuts through your car. You can cut through your taxes with it. It cuts everything except the food. Okay, now that you established what kind of knife this is, if you look at the blade, if you can see it, I hope you can see it, it has a serrated edge right here. And the only thing this knife is good for, yeah, I'm going to have probably a lot of people just going, oh, I have one of those knives, what are you doing? I love it. It's good for cutting onions, and it's good for cutting tomatoes. That's it. When it comes to sharpening, you got a big problem. This knife, I can easily sharpen. This knife, you're basically gonna destroy your knife. And so, true, it never needs to be sharpened. Actually, no. This came to me from a knife shop that had it sharpened, so it's not true. But if you want a knife exclusively for cutting onions and tomatoes, this is it. But for chopping, it's no good. This is where you want to go. This is a chopping knife. Okay, let's get that onion started. Okay, what we're going to do, okay, let's just use this. This knife is good for sawing, as you can see. This knife, a little bit of sawing, but it's mostly, a good knife will chop right through. And then this is what I like to do. This is called how to cut an onion with two different knives. Hit it like that. Take the skin off. Now you see all that white juice coming out? Okay, I'm going to get another onion just to show you something. That means this onion's really, really super fresh. Because when it's bleeding like this and you got juice coming out of it, that's a good onion. Keep that away from my juice. Okay, another thing, when you get an onion, make sure it has a nice, clean outside. And then what you want to do is you take your hands on top, take your hands like this, and you squeeze. If you don't feel any movement inside, that means this is a nice compacted onion. See how this is all, because sometimes you open up an onion and there's these holes or you got growth in them. Well, when you squeeze the onion like this, you can feel that. It'll give. So when you pick up an onion and squeeze it like this and it gives, it's probably not going to be a good onion. I heard another tip is torpedo shaped onions are sweeter, and I don't know how true that is, but I guess it all depends on your taste. So let's put that onion back over here. So what we're going to do is we're going to cut this in half. That was easy, wasn't it? So cut it in half so you have two equal pieces, and then what we're going to do is, this is where this knife comes in. We're going to cut it. Let's see, there's a lot of ways to cut this, so let me make sure I get it right the first time. You're going to cut it. This is what this knife really comes in handy for. You're going to cut it, but you're not going to go all the way to the bottom. Cut it thin slices. And the thing is, if you hit the bottom, with this one, you probably won't hit the bottom as much because you're not going down. With this one, You can do it, but it's a little harder to control, which I am doing it. I just hit the bottom. But this one, when it comes to cutting onions, has you're chopping, you're sawing into it. So that gives you a little bit more control. This is why this makes such a good onion knife. And you can get the cuts a lot smaller. Now I'm hitting it because I'm going a little faster. And cutting onions, again, it's like do the best job you can and cry a little bit. That's one of the things. It's like I'm used to cutting onions. I have to get another drink of my blackberry. Yeah. If you watch the blackberry syrup video, this is something else you can make with it. Ice cubes, maybe two or 3 tablespoons of the blackberry juice. Fill it up with milk, ice cubes. Yumminess. Or I like to say happy juice. Okay, so turn your onion on the side. Like this. Squeeze it. Now we're going to cut it real fine. Now see how I'm chopping back and forth? With this one, it's sharp. It works, but it is good. You can do it, but I tend to like this one. I hate to say this. I tend to like this one with it. And then when you get to the end, here's another little trick. Grab it, push it down. See how that? So you get a whole new start. So it's like you're starting over again. Well, not from that side, but from this side. So hold it tight. Yeah, it will do that. That's part of onions. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. You just have to roll with the punches. So get in there. When it does that, just get in there. Now, when it comes to chopping and crying, I can get emotional here. This doesn't have the weight. This is okay, but it needs the weight. I don't like chopping with it. I especially don't like chopping with it on my good cutting board over here because it rips the shred out of the wood. I mean, it really just digs in. I got gouges on my cutting board from it. I'm like, no, I'm not going to do this. Now, see how this is longer? And it has a more tapered, but this is just, this is what I like. Now, you square it, and you can put your hand down and you just chop away. It's got the height, the length, and the right. Okay, so this is going to go into a salad I am making tomorrow. So, I have everything there chopped. And get that put away. Now, another way, like if you're going to make a soup, this is not how you want to chop onions. What you want to do is, okay, you see how the onion makes a rainbow? Onion bow. See how it makes a rainbow? So what you want to do is, now we're going to use this knife. You want to get in there. Now, we're not cutting this really thin. We're going to cut this a little bit thicker. And then what you're going to do is you're going to pull it apart. Like that. And then that's the way, and now that part you don't want to use. And you can cut it to any thickness. And when you got your soup, now this is for when you are making not broth and not stock. This is when you have the soup already made. You put everything in the pot with your onions, your onions, your carrots, your celery, and maybe some leftover chicken. Then you put them in like this, and then you cook them. Rule of thumb is when the carrots are done, because the carrots are the hardest thing in a soup. When the carrots done, everything else is done, and these will be cooked nice. That is if you like onions in your soup. It will add extra flavor. So there's another way. So let's. Oh, I need to get. Excuse me, I'm having a very emotional moment right now because my UCAN is working and it's so man, that's a strong onion. Okay, so back to the onions now. So, and then again, what you can do is you can cut it. Let's cut this a little bit thicker. So let's get, now. Okay, this is great. This is a whole onion. See how thick it is? Like that. Now, let's say you have the whole onion. Let's say I cut the whole onion like right here, and I keep on cutting it in that thickness. This is cool. You can take this to the barbecue and you can grill it on either side very carefully. You might want to put something like a mesh. I used to have something you put down. It kind of reminds me of the splatter container, the things you put on top of your pans when they have oil in them to keep the splatter. I used to have something like that, and I haven't seen them anywhere, but it just keeps delicate things from going through. And you barbecue this up. I mean, you can barbecue a red onion and put it on your hamburger, and oh my God, you'd have you're in hamburger heaven. So let's cut another one of those, and it come up. So you'd have like this, like that. Okay, so what we can do now is there's so many ways you can cut this. If you want, you can cut them thin and then cut them like a pizza. Now, different thicknesses. This would be for if you're going to saute it and add meat to it. This would be for soup. This would also be for salads. This, you would use this in, you could use this in soup. Now, depending how much you like onions, you can, if you really like onions and you like the pieces to be this big for a salad, that's great. I used to love onion sandwiches. I mean, I'd cut the onions up, put them on the bread, little mayonnaise, that's it. Oh my God, that was so good. But fortunately, my stomach can't handle that anymore, so I don't do that anymore. But I used to really like that. Kind of sad that I can't do that anymore. So let's get back to cutting 101 ways to cut onions. And it's like when I had my carrot cutting video, I left out some cutting techniques there because there's so many of them. I just get overwhelmed. It's like there's so many different ways to cut it, and I'm running out of onion here. So another thing you can do is you can cut the tops off, take the peel off, and then what you can do, this is a fun way too, you can cut it elliptically. So just cut the whole onion, just cut it elliptically. And I'll try to do that right here, because this is not. So just cut it elliptically, and you get a whole completely different. It's a little bit the same, but it's just a different way to cut it. It's a little bit harder, but see now I got a triangle. So, and if you get a little bit bigger, rounder piecer, oh, it's about the same. So, okay. I think that's it for onions. This is all going to be chopped up and put in the salad. I love onions. Don't be afraid. Okay, onion 101. Let me get my camera. Okay, be afraid. I'll be right back.